Hey guys, for today's video, I'll be going over Cyrene's relics, ornaments, Lightcones, teams, and Eidolons so that you can know how to build her. I'll also be going over each crisis heir and rating the value of Cyrene's unique buffs. For her stats, Cyrene will need at least 180 speed so that she provides a 20% damage dealt to all allies, but she'll really want 200 speed because this provides an extra turn, which is really important because Cyrene wants to have as many turns as possible so that she can regenerate as many ultimate stacks as possible. For her crit stats, just focus on having a 1-to-2 crit damage to crit rate ratio, meaning that you're gonna want 1% crit rate for every 2% crit damage. For her HP stats, you're simply gonna want as much as possible without sacrificing her speed. For her relics, she's gonna want the new Deliverer set because it provides a nice mixture of supportive and offensive benefits. For another option, you can build her with a mixture of 2-piece bonuses that provide speed so that she can get to 180 or 200 speed. For her planners, she's gonna want the Von Walk planner if she isn't built at 200 speed, but if you can build her with 200 speed, the new Anforius planner would be better. For DPS alternatives, the Bone planner would generally be good for her DPS, but the Arcadia sets would be better for her DPS in Remembrance teams. For her main stats, she's gonna want crit damage or HP percentage over crit rate for her chest, speed for her boots, and HP percentage for her orb and rope. For her substats, she's gonna want speed, then HP percentage, then crit damage, then crit rate. For her Lightcones, her signature will be her best because it provides top tier buffs to the team, and it increases her speed tremendously. For an alternative, the Remembrance LC in the Herdus' shop will be a good alternative because it provides a ton of speed. For other alternatives, both Evernight and Castris' Lightcone would be on par because they both provide max HP boosts and similar buffs. For another alternative, Aglaeus' Lightcone would be decent because it increases her base speed and it provides some decent offensive boosts. For other alternatives, both of the Battle Pass LC will be on par with each other because they both provide a ton of offensive boosts. Another really good option would be Hyacinth's LC because it increases her speed and because it consumes the HP of allies, which is extremely beneficial in HP scaling teams. For her teams, her best teams are going to be filled with Remembrance characters because they are all crisis heirs and because Memo Sprites regenerates her ultimate stacks far quicker than other characters. Not only that, but she's an HP scaling character, meaning that her insane amounts of HP will provide Castris with a ton of new bud, and Hyacinth can buff her sub DPS tremendously. For any other Crisis Heir team, she's going to be a powerful alternative to top tier supports. For example, in a Feinin or Anaxa team, she's going to be an alternative to Sunday, and in Dot teams, she's going to be an alternative to Black Swan. Now, she's actually going to be an improvement in Aglaea and Medei teams because Cyrene's unique buffs for the both of them are insanely good. Other than that though, she's going to be really bad in teams that aren't filled with crisis heirs because she doesn't get her ultimate quick enough and she doesn't provide unique buffs. Also, if you are running her in a team with crisis heirs, you'll pretty much always want Hyacinth over the HPT unless you're using Cyrene in a Feinin team because Hyacinth regenerates far more ultimate stacks for Cyrene. For her Eidolons, her E1 gives her 6 ultimate stacks and increases the number of bounce attacks for her ultimate attack when it is automatically triggered. This Eidolon is really mediocre since even though the recollection stacks are nice, the additional bounce attacks don't significantly improve her performance, they only slightly improve her sub DPS. For her E2, it gives her 12 ultimate stacks at the start of the battle, and it increases the true damage buff she provides by 6% up to 24% for every ally that gets a buff from her ultimate's unique buff. This Eidolon is going to hold significant value since it'll help her with her ultimate stack regeneration problems tremendously, since the only real issue most of the time is that she can't get her ultimate up at the start of battle. Not only that, but the true damage buff is a 100% increase to her true damage buff when played in her ideal teams, which is a massive improvement to her supportive capabilities. For her E4, it increases her automatically used ultimate attack damage multipliers by 6% up to 144% every time she uses her normal ultimate attack. This Eidolon is going to be pretty mediocre since the damage bonuses are only for the automatically used ultimate attack, which isn't used that often. Not only that, but the maximum damage bonus will be practically impossible to get, and it'll typically be extremely difficult to even get a considerable damage bonus from this Eidolon. For her E6, it advances all allies forward by 100% when Cyrene uses her ultimate for the first time, and she reduces all enemies' defense by 20% when she uses her automatic ultimate attack for the first time, and she advances all allies by 24% when she uses her automatic ultimate attack every other time. This Eidolon is going to be insanely good for the team's action value, since it ingrains the Triple D Lightcone into her kit. For her investment value, her E2 is by far the best investment option, with her S1 technically having more value than her E1 if you can only afford one vertical investment. Thus, E2 S0 has greater value than E1 S1, but E0 S1 has greater value than E1 S0. Now, what is Cyrene's pull value? Well, for Remembrance teams, Cyrene is definitely an extremely powerful unit who is arguably slightly better than E1 Tribi, and for every other Crisis Air team, she's a powerful alternative to supports like Tribi or Sunday. But all of these benefits are for 3.0 characters and the 3.0 meta, which means that she'll probably fall off the meta in a couple of patches from now once the 4.0 meta and characters come around. Not only that, but she isn't even needed in a lot of Crisis Air teams, and she doesn't even work in non-Crisis Air teams. But because she technically is a meta alternative and is part of multiple meta teams, I'll rate her pull value a 6 out of 10. Starting off with the value of her unique buffs, the buffs she provides to RMC are good for both their sub DPS, but the value this provides is pretty negligible, so they get a 5 out of 10. For Aglaia, the buffs she provides increase her DPS to the point where Cyrene is one of Aglaia's best in slot teammates if Aglaia isn't zero cycling, so they get a 9 out of 10. For Tribi, Cyrene's buffs are similar to RMC's, and where the damage increase she provides to Tribi is also pretty negligible, so they also get a 5 out of 10. For Medei, Cyrene's buffs turn her into one of Medei's best in slot teammates, so they get a 10 out of 10. For Castris, Cyrene's buffs increase her DPS drastically, but because Castris' DPS is already so high, it isn't too big of a game changer, so they get an 8 out of 10. For Anaxa, she provides some nice buffs, but they're a bit difficult to time with Cerudras' Coupe de Main, and they're difficult to get in Anaxa teams, so they get a 7 out of 10. For Hyacine, Cyrene's buffs practically just save a skill point and buff Lyricus' healing so that Hyacine won't have to use that many skill points to heal, so I'd give them a 7 out of 10 since skill points are really valuable and you don't need to target Hyacine to get some of these buffs. For Cypher, Hyacine's buffs are practically just defense shred, so I'd give them a 6 out of 10. For Feinen, Cyrene's buffs are actually really powerful, but because Feinen's teams aren't ideal for Cyrene's ultimate regeneration, I'd give them a 7 out of 10. For Hysilens, again, Cyrene's buffs are incredibly powerful, but because they're difficult to get in dot teams, I'd rate them a 7 out of 10. For Ceridra, Cyrene's buffs are pretty good, but because they're difficult to get, I'd give them a 6 out of 10. For Evernight, although her buffs are pretty mediocre, they are easily obtainable, so they get a 7 out of 10. For the HPT, his buffs are hard to obtain and you'll rarely ever use them, but they are pretty powerful, so I'd give them a 5 out of 10. Anyways, that's all I've got for today. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you wish to know more, you can click on the video to the right. With that being said, goodbye.